let's talk about that Battle of Ohio, Clarence, as the Cleveland Browns beat your Cincinnati Bengals last night on Thursday Night Football, 35-30. Baker Mayfield, he went 16 of 23. He had 216 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Nick Chubb had 22 carries for 124 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Joe Burrow, he went 37 of 61, threw for 316 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Joe Mixon only had 45 rushing yards. So, Clarence, as we open up the show today and we talk about the Battle of Ohio, what was your biggest takeaway from this game?
I think the biggest takeaway from this game was the Cincinnati Bengals. They made Joe Burrow throw 61 times. You know, that was like something that wasn't nothing Bengals like. That wasn't something that they will rely on or will be the go-to plan. But what I've seen from Joe Burrow, he just showed us that if y'all want me to do this, I will. And I will try my best to lead this team to a victory. But at the same time, the offensive line is something that's holding them back. And I think the biggest takeaway from here, as well as the Cleveland Browns, they did a solid job last night. You know, they played to their strength. They ran the ball, which really well, and the play action was killing Cincinnati. Like it was devastating. They couldn't defend the play action. OBJ and Baker Mayfield, I can finally say that they was on the same track yesterday. Like regardless, he had 4 catches, 74 yards. They was on the same page yesterday, and they looked very good out there. You know, catching the passes. And the thing in this game was this game was for the Cleveland Browns. Like they had to win this game in order, you know, to start their playoff push. But it's some holes in that game. It's a holes in that team that definitely need some construction in. But I think the biggest takeaway is Baker got the most important stat than Burrow is the W.
Yes, I agree with you completely. My biggest takeaway from the game was the fact that Kevin Stefanski, he set Baker up to be successful in last night's matchup, Clarence. I felt like in the first game against the Baltimore Ravens, he set Baker up to fail. He had Baker drop back to pass 39 times, and that is a recipe for disaster if you're the Cleveland Browns. But last night, Stefanski did a great job because he only had Baker drop back 23 times, and the Cleveland Browns rely on the running game. Nick Chubb had a great game, 22 carries, 124 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a major impact on the game. Also, Kareem Hunt, I think he had like 10 carries for 86 rushing yards. So the Cleveland Browns did a great job at running the football and putting Baker in positions to be successful. And I think that needs to be a recipe for the Browns the rest of the season if they want to continue to win football games and possibly position themselves to get to the playoffs, Clarence. You cannot rely on Baker to drop back to pass the football 39, 45 times a game. That won't work for the Cleveland Browns. The second takeaway that I had in this matchup was the Bengals are really, really missing Mike Daniels and Geno Atkins right now because the Browns had their way as far as being able to run the football, and they had 215 rushing yards overall. So I think the Bengals missing Geno Atkins and Mike Daniels in a game of this magnitude, it showed that why they really need those 2 players to help them be effective at stopping the run. If the Bengals want to have any chance of competing in football games this year, you have to stop the run. And they came up short in doing that last night. My third overall takeaway was how they got Odell Beckham the football early in this game. He only had 4 receptions for 74 receiving yards, but he had that 1 touchdown, so that gave him some confidence, and that made him want to play at a high level the rest of the game because he was involved in the offense. I told you before, I felt like the Browns, they don't do a good job of getting Odell in positions to be successful and create, plays in open space. Like, I felt like that rollout that Baker had and that touchdown pass that he had to Odell Beckham was a thing of beauty. And I think Kevin Stefanski needs to do more of that for the Browns to be successful. So those are my main takeaways. The Bengals not being able to stop the run. Also Baker Mayfield being put in a position to be successful by his head coach, Kevin Stefanski, and Odell Beckham being involved in the game plan early and often. And one more thing I want to say, Clarence, about this game. Ladies and gentlemen, the Cincinnati Bengals have found themselves a quarterback. I'm going to say it right now on Wise Guys on the Worldwide Sports Network. The Cincinnati Bengals have found themselves a quarterback in Joe Burrow. Because last night, I was impressed with Joe Burrow's performance last night, Clarence. What he 37 of 61, 316 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. He threw 61 times. That means Zach Taylor put the game in his hands to win the game, and he only came up short by 5 points. The Bengals had a chance to win that game last night, and that was because of their quarterback, Joe Burrow. So I got to give a lot of credit to Joe Burrow, and I want to say tonight on Wise Guys that they have found their man. I had questions about Joe Burrow being the number 1 overall pick. He was the Heisman Trophy winner last season at the collegiate level. He had 60 passing touchdowns, I believe, for LSU in the regular season. And I had my questions about Joe Burrow because I felt like he had all these weapons that he was throwing the ball to at LSU, Clarence, and Ja'Marr Chase and Justin Jefferson and Clyde Edwards. Now at the NFL level, he's had 2 games, and he's given us evidence and showed us he can play the quarterback position. He had no running game to depend on last night. Joe Mixon, what did he only have last night? 16 carries for 45 yards? That isn't going to get it done. So I can only imagine what Joe Burrow would do if Joe Mixon has it going and he's giving him an effective running game, because that's going to open up the passing game for the Bengals on the perimeter. So I got to give a lot of credit to Joe Burrow, and I don't think he's going to be a Hall of Famer like you think, because you're ready to induct him into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'm not ready to do that just yet, but I will say Joe Burrow did prove to be a quality starter in the NFL, and he's going to only get better as the season goes along.
I'm just saying, once he win a playoff game, he has my vote for being inducted in the Hall of Fame, regardless, because he broke the spell, he broke the curse, and he gave me a win in my younger years. But you can't forget, he had 31st. The Bengals had 30 first downs, and he converted 5 of 5 on fourth downs. And yes. four out of them fourth downs came from Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd, that was his reliable target. And let me tell you this, though. I'm not impressed for A.J. Green. I'm not, Trey. I'm not. Yeah. I'm not disappointed, but I'm like, God. He been off for like two years, and it's like, wow, he's working off the rust, because he had like 3 catches out of 13 targets. Something right there. That's not A.J. Green. And some of them passes, like, it was some of the passes that Burrow threw behind A.J. Green, but we seen A.J. Green catch numerous of passes that was behind him or over him or too much in front of him. And that right there, that needs to change. And another thing, the Bengals, they have to run the football. I was disappointed, too, when they ran a zone run on 1st and goal at the 1-yard line. I'm like, why are you not pounding it in? Where's the fullback? Where's the fullback lining up behind the quarterback that's leading the running back? Like, that right there, that's something they have to fix. Definitely have to fix. And unfortunately, C.J. Uzomah, he's out for the season with a torn Achilles. That bummers a lot. But Drew Semple came in a nice, fine job and a serviceable job, actually, with 7 catches and 45 yards. So he did a thing. I think he has a future with the Bengals if he keep progressing in the right direction. But the most important thing that the Bengals, they have to change over the course of the season is the play calling. The play calling hurts. If the play call is not right, it can shift the momentum. Now, I am keeping notes on the Philadelphia Eagles because we play them next week. And they play the Rams. And I'm trying to figure out, is Geno and Mike Daniels is coming back? I'm going to talk to them later on this weekend. Ask them, is they going to be ready? They getting a whole 9-day rest off, Trey. So, yeah. We just want to see how it is. It's going to be a long season. And I'm fortunately got to hear this from you, too.
And the thing is, though, when it comes to Joe Burrow, even in the first game of the season against the Chargers defense that is a pretty good defense, and they have an elite secondary. Joe Burrow, I think he had 23 of 36 passing. He had 194 passing yards last week. He did have 1 bad interception in the fourth quarter, but he led the Bengals down on that last drive and put them in a position to at least tie the game and send it to overtime. In this matchup, given the circumstances, again, he didn't have a preseason. This was a very unordinary off season. So he didn't have a preseason to get reps or, work on chemistry with Bengals receivers. This is all new to Joe Burrow. And I thought he played great last night. Again, 37 of 61, like most veteran quarterbacks, if they drop back to pass like 60 times a game, majority of those times, the quarterback is going to throw at least one or two interceptions and they're going to turn the ball over. Like all night, they were down on the scoreboard, Clarence, and Joe Burrow, he didn't seem flustered. He seemed relaxed, and he seemed very, very poised. That's the word that I look at when I look at Joe Burrow. Like, I look at him as being very poised. Like, he's calm. He doesn't seem like he gets flustered. He doesn't seem like he gets rattled. He's always calm. And to have the Bengals in a position to steal a game on the road in an AFC North battle with the Battle of Ohio on the line was very impressive. I can't say enough about the job that Joe Burrow did. But again, I'm not ready to induct him into the Pro Football Hall of Fame like you are, but I will admit that he has shown me that he can play the quarterback position. And the thing is, the Bengals got to put some pieces around him and protect him because their offensive line is terrible. Their offensive line is terrible. And, he can't be effective if he's always on his back. Like, that's one of the main issues that I have with this Bengals team. They have to do a better job of protecting their investment, and that's Joe Burrow. They had 3 sacks in this game, so they got to do a better job of protecting Joe Burrow. But overall, like, I think watching this game, one of my other takeaways was, even though Baker Mayfield had a pretty decent game and he had over 200 passing yards, Joe Burrow got outplayed. Baker Mayfield, he got outplayed by Joe Burrow. I thought, after I watched this game, I'm like, well, Baker Mayfield probably is the 4th best quarterback in the AFC North. Like, I gotta say it, and that's crazy because I thought Baker Mayfield had a pretty good night. When you I thought Baker Mayfield played pretty good last night.
He had a good night, and for Baker, I think that him and Kevin Stefanski, they got to keep working on during the season. They have to find ways to find something to like make to their bigger strength. But as I see it, it's the run game. But I wanted to catch back with Burrow. Burrow, like, when I was watching the game last night, and don't call me crazy. Don't call me crazy. But he gave me Aaron Rodgers vibes. Just the way, how Aaron Rodgers, like, look, we
don't
know
do that, Clarence.
Listen,
don't do that.
Stop. Listen. We know how great Aaron Rodgers is in 2 minutes, under 2 minutes. He doesn't get sacked. He get the ball out of his hand, and they're moving downfield. And with Burrow, I feel like he got that style from Rodgers, like, okay, you have to hurry up, spread out the receivers, and all the receivers is doing is ins and outs. And I used to watch Aaron Rodgers all the time. All his receivers ran out plays and in plays, like something that's quick, so he get the ball out of his hand. And I just think that was very impressive. And believe it or not, we play the Green Bay Packers next season, and that right there, my friend, is going to be exciting and epic.
Definitely, man. Last question before we move on to our next topic.
Right.
Can Cleveland make a playoff push this season?
I think when I look at the Cleveland Browns schedule, though, it's very tough because listen to these next 5 games. At home with Washington, at Dallas, at home with the Colts, on the road, got 2 road games with the Steelers and the Bengals. I think those games, if they can win 3 out of the 5 games, they can make some noise that's coming. And believe it or not, they can mess up the AFC North. They can mess up the race because people, believe it or not, even you saying it, people saying that Pittsburgh and Baltimore, they basically the top 2 teams in there. But if Cleveland start winning right now, like win their next 3 out of the 5 games, or maybe 4, they can actually make some noise. And out of that 5 games, they're on the road in Pittsburgh. And believe it or not, they split. They split it last year. And it's going to be a very emotional game because Myles Garrett did that necessary stuff with Mason Rudolph. I think that's going to be a momentum shift too. That can play a part as well. But if they can win the next couple of weeks, they can be in the driver's seat.
The game that you just named, the only lock that I think they're going to have, like, for sure win, is against the Washington football team. And even that's questionable because, the Cleveland Browns are very inconsistent. Baker Mayfield is very inconsistent. We don't know what's going to happen. The only for sure win I would say is the Cleveland Browns, but the rest of those games, I wouldn't favor the Cleveland Browns in. I wouldn't favor the Cleveland Browns going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I wouldn't favor the Cleveland Browns going up against the Dallas Cowboys. You know, like I wouldn't favor the Cleveland Browns even coming to Cincinnati to play your Bengals. This game was a close game throughout. The Browns didn't just run. The Colts game is iffy. Well, I think I probably would favor the Colts. Is it played in Cleveland or was it played in Indy?
It's in Cleveland.
It's probably a pick 'em for me, honestly. It could go either way. But what I think is, out of all those games you named, the only lock is the Washington football team. Other games, you know, I think they could really end up losing. So for me, can the Cleveland Browns make a playoff push this season? I got to see more consistent quality quarterback play from Baker Mayfield before I can say the Cleveland Browns will make a playoff push, because Baker Mayfield has been so inconsistent, and he always likes to talk to the media and trash talk opponents. Like, I want to see Baker be more humble and start learning from when he does have good performances, how to take that type of performance and carry it on to the next week. Like, I want to see him do that and be more consistent. Then I'll be able to give a definitive answer as to whether or not they can make a playoff push. But as long as Baker Mayfield is being inconsistent, I don't think the Cleveland Browns can make a playoff push. I just don't see it happening, because I think in that division, real quick, I think the top two teams are the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. And I think, you know, after watching the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday night, Big Ben is back, and he is going to make a push for being the NFL Comeback Player of the Year. Therefore, I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers will make the playoffs, and I think the Baltimore Ravens will obviously win the division. So I think Cleveland Browns at the end of the season will be on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I think for the Pittsburgh Steelers, though, they're right there. They're a top contender. You can't deny their talent on that defense. And Big Ben is back. He looks like he on his way to his 2018 form. His 2018 form was tremendous. So I think it's going to be interesting to watch him play throughout the season. And they have a little tricky schedule as well that we will get into shortly in the week of the show, though.